Wow. I think that is probably the best thing anybody has said. Literally. Like that's genius. Like your
Oh, thank you.
literal calendar is literally, it tells a story.
It does.
Yeah. You're right. It sure does. Now I'm going back to my calendar. I'm like, huh. You can see whether or not you've been productive or not. You can
Mm-hmm.
see if you've been making enough sales calls. You can see whether or not if you've had enough family time. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Literally, if you look on your calendar, it's a great picture of what your life looks like. So let me ask this question. If it's a reflection of what you've done in the past, by
Mm-hmm.
creating a calendar the right way, is it a prediction of what your life could look like in the future? Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us on another episode of Entrepreneurial Truth. On today's podcast, I have Natasha. And Natasha, thank you so much for being here with us today. Thank you for sharing your story with us.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome. Can you share with our audience a little bit about who you serve and what your business is about?
Absolutely. So my business is titled myself, so Natasha Agha Consulting, and I currently work with licensed service-based providers that own a private practice that are essentially just burning the candle at both ends and doing all the things and ready to reclaim their time, their energy, and ultimately their freedom, because that is what they went into entrepreneurship for in their private practice, and they're not feeling that anymore and want to be able to get what they dreamed of back. And so that is what I do, because that was also my journey several years ago. And I am a speech therapist by background, so these are like a lot of sister professionals like physical occupational therapists, mental health psychotherapists, all of those that would own a private practice.
Oh, I love it. So I am just going to dive right in for our listeners.
Yes.
How can they identify that they're about to burn out?
Ooh, that is a wonderful question. It does differ, I believe, for everyone. And I think too, it comes with like our threshold.
Mhm.
And I say that because for me, I so this is my second business. So I'll preface that. This is my second business. So my first entrepreneurial journey was a private practice. I went on and did my own thing. And for me, that identification, it took everything around me to crash and burn. I was had my blinders on and just do all the time, wearing all the hats and doing all the things. So it really took for externally for me to realize that nothing was working because everything was on fire.
Mm.
And but hindsight being 2020, I think for a lot of people to identify that is to really check in with their bodies. Because for me, I was in my head a lot. So I was always thinking about the next thing, doing the next thing, planning, and I was never present. And so I was unable to identify in my body. My body was trying to tell me that there was a lot of red flags that I essentially ignored or I didn't see because I was very much in my head and ahead, always looking ahead, or even in the past of thinking of all the things that may have gone wrong in what I was doing. And so it's really with the body, it's, different aches and pains, it's stress, it's holding our breath, it's, always in a constant state of bracing almost for like, in my instance, for the next shoe to drop. What else is going to happen? What else is going to go wrong? And so it was really, it's your body, I would say.
Oh, oh. And what systems have you put in place now to identify like this new business so you don't go down the same path?
It's twofold with my new business because that is a very big pillar of what it is that I teach and I talk about, because it's all built around burnout, but also alignment, because it's twofold, right? So with it's putting in and establishing new, there's all kinds of things, but like boundaries, but also even reminders for myself and implementing these things. So a lot of it is checking in with myself, grounding myself, and then implementing practices to help me do that, which is a lot of from nervous system regulation to being present. Again, bringing myself back, because I mean, we're not robots. I mean, we're still gonna, be looking ahead, and we need to do that to an extent, as being an entrepreneur, is we need to know what the next thing is, or what we're building, or what we're launching, or what we're doing, but also dialing back in and checking in with ourselves and what it is that we want. Because a lot of all of that stems from all the things that I didn't do the first time around. But it's really checking in with myself. And I now have created ultimately a calendar and things that reflect what I want it to look like. So all the things that I want to do, which is creating a morning routine, which I did not have before. And that, because I would wake up and I would just go, right? It's checking emails, doing the next thing. And I don't do that anymore. I cultivated a morning routine that helps me get into that state of being present and creative. And then I'm not bracing. I'm not going into, oh my gosh, what are all the things I have to do? I have time to be present and then set myself up for success. So a lot of things have changed with just the daily flow that I have and creating that space.
And what does that routine look like for you? I know it's going to differ from person to person, but for you, what does that look like?
Sure. I like to change it up here and there, but the foundation of it is really at least a minimum, because you can, depending on how much time you have, but I like to say about an hour, but really a few pieces is some form of creativity in there, right? So it's not touching the phone, because that's usually our first mistake, is we touch our phone. We're looking at notifications, we're looking at emails, and that immediately just like puts you in a reactive state, or, oh, I got to do that, or, oh, it just takes you out. So no phone is kind of step one, but then it's some type of journaling or scripting or something. Again, or it could be even like a full brain dump of just like ideas, right? So just getting everything pen to paper. I'm really about pen to paper, because it's different when you physically write something, I feel like, then, when we type something out, or, put something in our phone, but just like time to write, and in any way that feels good, whether it's, you could script out kind of like your goals, or what, your perfect day looks like, or what your ideal business scenario looks like, and really just like because it really helps to cultivate that vision of what it is that you truly want. Because I think we get lost in the sauce sometimes, right? And then the other piece is learning something new, or reading something like that's not necessarily business related, something that piques your interest, that you want to learn some more about. And again, that would be more like physical, trying to get away from the phones, right? So like a physical book or something, like, or it could be like a tablet that doesn't have your notifications on it, right? And taking some time to learn something, or audiobooks that can work too. And then really the core piece is some type of movement. And it doesn't have to be a, sweat to, full blown workout, but it can be just simply, from stretching to, it could be even some meditation, some weightlifting, weightlifting, but just moving your body. Because really those pieces all coming together helps to put you in that like peak performance and that peak state, right? And that really sets up your day for success. And that's both personal and professional, but really cultivating that routine that's well-rounded of what it is that you want. And again, those are just a couple of examples, but that's, for me, those are usually the key things that I put in there. Because once you creatively, you've written something down, whether in any fashion, and you learn something new, or you read something more about something you're interested in, it could be business related if it's something that you want to learn more of, but that, and then moving your body, it's putting your mind and your body essentially together in unison in that peak performance state to then, take on the day or execute or whatever the case may be.
Wow. Okay. And what are some of the things that you think would help if you are noticing patterns? Like, for example, say 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you're like, you know what? I just can't. I'm shutting this down, and you're not really accomplishing your productivity. Like, what is that? Is that fog? Is that burnout? Like, what does that look like?
Ooh, that's great. I feel like you almost even just said it. It's just if you are at a point where it's too much, or you just feel like your brain stopped work. Literally, if you don't even know what the next thing is because you feel like you're drowning in like 10 million, is to do nothing, is to take a break. It's to and get yourself out of that environment, because it's really perspective and shifting. Because I'm going to kind of circle back around, but it's I know for me personally, some of my best ideas have not come from me sitting in front of the computer doing my work. It's I'm doing something else. I'm in the shower or taking a walk or just getting outside in general, not even outside of your environment, just outside.
Okay.
And just, because sometimes it could be a funk. It could be burnout, but like you won't know until you have to actually separate yourself from what you're doing. And it might even be that you realize that you need to take a break or take a vacation and gain some perspective. Because I know from my personal journey, I never took breaks. I was always working. I worked essentially in my first business 7 days a week. I was working, first thing I did when I woke up, and it was the last thing I did before I went to bed. And that just, again, was just this endless cycle of do. And I was getting nowhere fast. And not only was that not healthy, but I was ignoring, again, all of the red flags that were screaming at me. And because I didn't give myself permission to take a break. I thought that I couldn't take a break. So it's to do nothing. And that sounds crazy to some. And it felt very unnatural for a long time.
No, you know what? You know what? It is not unnatural at all, having gone through and gone down that road myself, that you have to step back and you have to have some type of routine in there where you're just literally mindful about taking time for yourself, taking time for yourself, figuring out what feels good and what doesn't feel good in your body. But the only way to feel that is to step away from what you're doing.
Absolutely. And honestly, and I still do it to this day, but I had to physically build in blocks in my calendar to do that, because I
Mhm.
will just keep going and going and going, to take intentional, like, I'm going to take a walk here. I'm going to go outside, completely unplug. Because that was another piece I eventually had to do too, is just not listen to anything. Because I tend to do that, like, podcasts, music, whatever, and just be here.
Yeah, be present, be completely unplugged.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah. Okay, well, let me dive into that. Now, unplugging, what does that look like? If you are an entrepreneur that has, or a clinician or a business owner in some
Mm-hmm.
capacity, that has a lot of work that comes in, what are some practical tips that you can give them to kind of allow them to be able to unplug?
Mm-hmm. Whatever feels comfortable to start, but my suggestion would be to implement some blocks throughout the day, and it can be small to start, right? So like I wasn't for a while. You should be eating at some point, right? So like you should have a lunch in there, and then maybe it's like 5 or 10 minutes even to start before that lunch break or after, where it's you take a walk or you do nothing, and literally like kind of get used to that, because that is like a getting used to. And some other pieces are to actually, it sounds kind of funny to say it this way, but like actually set your own like bedtime, but then like an hour before that. So say not I'm going to go to bed at, say, like 9 o'clock, but I want to be like asleep by 9 o'clock. Well, if that is what you want to be doing, to set a deadline for yourself, and either an hour or so before that, and then that's like your wind down time, or your unplug time, right? Where you just kind of can decompress. You could even, again, that could be another great time to journal a little bit, like what went well today, what could have gone better, or looking at your day ahead, but not doing anything, and being like, okay, I already know now to set myself up for tomorrow. These are the 3 things that I'm going to do first thing, because then that sets you up again for tomorrow, to not have to be like the what am I going to do to, and then you spend that time like,
Yeah.
oh, I got to do this, or wait, did I do that yesterday? But that it just kind of gives you that decompression time. And then you actually do go to bed then
Mhm.
at that time. You've kind of done your kind of brain dump reflection, and then you kind of get into this rhythm of not being on all the time, not doing all the time. And again, then you can kind of reverse that again in the morning, where you've got time blocks that you start putting in there, and in the morning, where you're not, first thing you're doing is you're not looking through all of your emails, right? You're doing something else that's for you,
Mhm.
right? And then at the end of the day, and then put in blank space. Blank space is okay. And I think we see it in our calendars, and we go, what can go in here? What else could I do?
Mhm.
How, and, we think that it's like an invitation to add something, where
Mhm.
we should actually be intentionally put it, because there should be a balance. And I think that's where we get lost, is we just think that we see a space and we fill it, like, oh, I could put this meeting here. Oh, I can start working on this project here. Or that balance is for you. You could
Mhm.
actually maybe go get a massage
Mhm.
there, or whatever it is, doing something for you. That should actually be how we plan and use our calendars. And
Mhm.
so our calendar is really a reflection of everything that's working and not working. I actually tend to use the phrase that your calendar is not only information, but it's analytics, because you can go back and look at it, because we don't delete what's in our calendar, and we can go back and look and see how we used our time, and
Mhm.
what's in there and what's not in there.
Wow. I think that is probably the best thing anybody has said. Literally. Like, that's genius. Like, your
Oh, thank you.
literal calendar is literally, it tells a story.
It does.
Yeah. You're right. It sure does. Now I'm going back to my calendar. I'm like, huh. You can see whether or not you've been productive or not. You can
Hmm.
see if you've been making enough sales calls. You can see whether or not if you've had enough family time. Uh,
Hmm.
Literally, if you look on your calendar, it's a great picture of what your life looks like. So let me ask this question. If it's a reflection of what you've done in the past, by
Hmm.
creating a calendar the right way, is it a prediction of what your life could look like in the future?
If done the right way. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think the goal for every entrepreneur person on this planet, right, is to have a calendar that they don't cringe at looking at, right? That's
Ooh,
not
yeah.
like, oh, like, you want it to be filled with things that that you want to do, that you look
Mhm.
forward to doing. I mean, ultimately, that's what any of us want. And there's some things that maybe we don't like as much, but need to get done. But again, it's that balance. And so
Yeah.
for me, my how I used to do my calendar was I put all my, because I feel like there's an art to really making your calendar. And the big aha moment was I would always put in all my work stuff first, and then I built my life around my work, which is actually just the opposite, right? It's just a reverse engineer that. And the non-negotiables in my world is what goes in first, and that's not
Mhm.
necessarily work, right? That's what stuff like your you time, right?
Mhm.
And that can be, and for parents, like, that's your alone time too, right? Because you need some some adult time, whatever that looks like to you. But then you piece in the work, right? But you want to make sure you have your family time in there. You want to make sure you have some self-care in there. You want to make sure that you have appointments, because sometimes we don't go to the doctor, right? Or we schedule everything for our children, but then we don't do the same for ourselves because we don't have time, and we
Mhm.
don't, right? So we
Right.
gotta, do those things. And so it's really reverse engineering how we create our calendar in the first place. And your non-negotiables should, I think, always go in there first, and then you plan your work around your life.
Yeah.
And so it's balanced, right?
And more entrepreneurs that I've been speaking to, we've all they've all literally said the same thing, that everything shifted for them when they started to have boundaries around their
Mm-hmm.
time, and when they started to realize how important their time was in terms of longevity, life,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
happiness, success. It's all built around boundaries. and
Absolutely.
scheduling time for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, wow. Let me ask. So, in setting your new boundaries and setting up your calendar the right way, are you using any systems, automation, AI in your everyday life that you've been utilizing more to help you with that?
Absolutely. Yes. I think, I some might, shy away from, but AI is here, right? And,
Mhm.
and we might as well use it to our benefit because there's so many wonderful things that can be done with AI and automation. And I think especially for solopreneurs is huge, right? If you
Mhm.
don't have a team,
Correct.
well, you can, there are things that you may, hire out for, but there's a lot of things that, you can implement and integrate into your current business through AI, which is
Mhm.
amazing. And
Yeah.
that's actually a piece in the program that I have with, there's burnout, which is, working on yourself, and then it's the time piece, right? And how to, make a calendar that works for you. And then the last piece is using systems and AI to do that, because how else are you going to reclaim your time? Build a calendar that makes sense and that you
Exactly.
want, but then and then how do you get the rest of the time is utilizing those kinds of systems. And so for me, I use I use it for, yeah, I schedule a lot of things. So for like just like social media, for content, for editing, for all the things. I mean, I used to try and
Do
do a
everything
lot of it
yourself. Yep.
myself, and it's
Yep.
very, very time consuming. And then to
Yep.
schedule it and to post it and then figure out the order and what am I doing and editing. So
Mhm.
yes, and that saved a lot of time. And it really, if you want to, take back time and just in a fraction, I think in
Yep.
some cases of what manpower is, and you save money.
Yeah.
Let's be
No,
honest.
it's true. And I mean, we have the business systems and AI, which is our consulting business. And what we have with that is that we've figured that a lot of entrepreneurs they use AI, but they're actually using it to give themselves more work because they're
Mm,
not actually using it in the right way. So they're not subtracting tasks. They're actually creating more to dos with AI and using it wrong. So we created this whole clarity tool for them. What what are you using it for to simplify things? Not give yourself more work, but simplify things for you in your business that you think someone else would be able to maybe possibly implement in theirs.
I love that. And it hadn't really even dawned on me, but yeah, it can, if not used correctly, create more work, and it's
Mhm.
just counterproductive. And I think initially when I started dabbling and AI, I think that was exactly what was happening, because I think there's a learning curve
Yeah,
for sure,
absolutely.
for sure. And so for me, it helps a lot with so when it comes to, there's a few pieces, but for me, organizing my thoughts. So when it comes to my own like content ideas and even podcast episodes, things like that, sometimes it's just like a brain dump. And then
Mhm.
to help me organize, because I have everything there, but for me to sift through and figure out how to, what should go where and here, like for me, that simplifies that a lot, because other I will overthink it too and then be like, no, I should do this. And it's nice to kind of have almost a filtering system of
Yeah.
how this looks. So that saves me a lot of time.
Mhm.
And then when it comes to, again, like the editing and captions and things like that for certain content, like that saves me so much time. So it's like I of course create, I'm using it to supplement, right? So it's like not creating my content, but it's taking my content and then doing the things that took me hours to do
Mhm.
in minutes, where it could clip, edit, throw on the caption. That
Yeah.
that to me is huge.
Yeah, no, no. And listen, when you are someone that has the tendency or propensity to overthink,
Yes.
it helps so much because if not, you stay in that loop in your head, like, yeah, but if I post that, is it? And it definitely helps flush
Mhm.
out and be like, listen, stop.
Mhm.
I,
Yes.
I I promise. At one point, mine said, "Stop, stop. You've done enough.
Hmm. Yes.
You don't need to keep thinking about the same thing that you've asked me 5 times." And there are filters that you can write into it that say, "Hey, listen, if you see that I'm repeating myself,
Hmm.
or if you see that I've already put that idea on the board, I don't need to think about it again. Just remind me that I've already had that thought and walked down that road, and you've already given me advice." And you come out of that loop, because
Hmm.
it can also become something that's also addictive. And I think that's something a lot of people don't know about it.
Hmm.
So,
That's
yeah,
huge. Yeah.
you have to set guardrails in anything that you do, in order to make sure that your time is yours.
Hmm. Well said. Yes.
Listen, this is years of just learning that, like, in being in a technology space too, there's always something new. There's
Hmm.
always something new. There's always something shiny. So what I've kind of had to do, because I like to try new things, right, is
Hmm.
put it into maybe a chat folder and ask it, "Hey, is this tool similar to something else I've tried, and is it even worth my time?"
Mm.
Just literally a guardrail and filter for me, not going down a rabbit hole of wanting to know more about this thing that I don't need.
Right? I know. I used to always say, like, I would go through phases where I had shiny object syndrome, right? And I'm like, oh, this looks nice. Oh, this looks nice. Oh, I got to try
Yeah, and
that.
more is just more. It
Yeah.
doesn't make it any easier. It doesn't make it any better. It doesn't get you closer to your goal. It's just more of
Busy.
just busy work. Busy
Hmm.
work. Mm.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, have you had any mentors along the way that starting this new business, or even in your past, that you thought was really good, and you think that, other entrepreneurs should look into something like that, if you've had?
Uh, yes, I have. And they're kind of in completely different spaces. So, like, I have done mentorships for, well, to create my online course, which, sorry, I knocked something down. Which was a phenomenal, because that was my launch pad to be able to get into the online space, because I had no idea what I was doing. But also I've done like peak performance, my mindset coach type. And I've also done, so I've kind of been all over I'm huge into, obviously, like self-development. And
Yeah.
I feel like that obviously is like the best way to collapse time, is to, you can do it yourself and it might take you years, or you can learn from someone, right, that's already done the things, and do it in a fraction of the time. So I guess it would just, it's it's huge, but I've done like almost all arenas, even into podcasting, to ads, to all the things.
No, but here's the thing, it's good, right? Because you take a little bit from everybody, as long
Hmm.
as you're going through the thing, right? But
Yes.
take a little bit of it and implement it, and it definitely, definitely speeds you up in terms of like the time it would take to get from point A to point B.
Hmm.
Were there any tools, outside of mentors, that you used to kind of recover fast from burning out?
I mean, not actually like a specific tool, besides a lot of journaling, and a lot of journals. They were blank and other filled, but really learning more about just meditation and nervous system regulation. And that's from like all different, there's no specific tool, but just so much benefit from learning more about your nervous system, your body, how it reacts, and how to regulate. And that's different for us, because certain things might work for different people and not. So if really figuring out what worked for me, and again, kind of cultivating that practice. So like nothing specific, but like really those would be like, I think the takeaways would be like journaling, scripting, and then a movement routine of some kind of going back to that morning routine. But like those would be like the tools, I would say, that I've used.
Wow. And if you don't mind me asking,
Mhm.
how long of a process was it for you to go from that? And did you ever get stuck?
Um, I feel like never got like stuck. I just would get to a point where I may have tried something and it didn't work for me, and then just kind of navigating, finding out like again what worked for me, and this
Mhm.
that's a bunch of just trial and error. But and then it took. I mean, I think it's an ongoing process. I'll preface that. Like, I don't know that we're ever fully like, I'm not, I'm 100% great all the time. I don't think any of us are.
No.
Right. So, I mean, it's an ongoing process, but like really finding what worked for me um, and is working. I would say it took me, I would say about a year to
Mhm.
really cultivate, I would say in all areas to feel like I have the tools. I, feel like regulated majority of the time, cultivating a morning routine and kind of an evening routine, right, to complement that morning routine. It took a while, and to be consistent, right, really, because to build up new habits, that
Right.
takes what, like 90 days or something, like to really build, and like, and then where you don't even have to think about it. So
Mhm.
I think figuring out all those pieces, about a year, I would say, but I've been really like focused on
That.
these are my priorities and this is what I want to do. And this is how I want my life to look like, right?
Yeah, that
Mhm.
is like the most critical piece. Did you ever feel like when that happened, like, you know what, I'll just go back and just do a 9 to 5? Was that ever even on the table?
I love that you asked that question, because there would be moments, right, where you're just like, like I think
Mhm.
every entrepreneur at least one time, if not several, have gone, is this even worth it? Like, what am I doing? Like, but then the idea of going back to a 9 to 5, and the thought that always I circle back to is, I didn't come this far to get just this far. Like, this literally doesn't make sense. I can't go back because I already know what that looks like when when it's in between my first entrepreneurial journey and this one. Like, I went back for like 6 months until I could figure out what it was I wanted to, and I was like, I can't do this. Like, I can't work solely for someone else and be an employee and do the thing. Like, I just, like, it felt like I was selling my soul,
Mhm.
and I was, I can't. And now, even if I hit hiccups here and there, like, I didn't come this far to only get this far. That
Mhm.
No, there's no going back.
Mhm.
This is
This
what,
is it.
this
This
is
is where
it.
you're planting your flag. Yep. Yep. And it's that thing, right? I feel like
Hmm.
if you are an entrepreneur, you just know. You
Yes.
Because here's the thing, you have to be willing to get flogged.
Yeah.
It's hard, but
It's very hard.
it's also the power in knowing that today I get up and I get to decide what today looks like.
Yes, absolutely.
And that is it for me. I know I wake up in the morning, I'm like, you know what, it's not gonna necessarily be the easiest, but I can decide what it's gonna look like. I'm gonna decide how I react. I'm gonna decide what hard thing I'm gonna tackle. But I
Mhm.
made that decision and someone's not making it for me. And I think that's the major decision.
Absolutely. And I just love that you said that. It's so true. And I think too, and I don't know if your current um, business is your first, but I think too, I think a lot of entrepreneurs think, and this is what I thought my first time around was, when I was like, this isn't working, and I ultimately had to close it, and I looked at it as like a failure, right? But most successful entrepreneurs failed umpteen amount of times
Mhm.
before they hit the winner, the golden ticket, right?
Yes.
And I think that's part of it, and knowing that it is a journey, right? So I think that I love the title of your podcast too, because I mean, it is one of the many truths about entrepreneurship, right? Is, I mean, it's not going to be instantaneous. It's not
Right.
going to be overnight, and
Mhm.
sometimes that first, maybe second, maybe the for it may not be successful. But for me, had I not had that first business and that journey, I
Mhm.
wouldn't have been able to essentially like take that, and not, it's no longer a failure, right? Because it's
Right.
perception, right? Just like you said,
Correct.
it was a launch pad, because
Right.
without that, I wouldn't have been able to have the experiences to create my new
Absolutely.
business, to help others so they wouldn't get to that point,
Exactly.
right? Right.
Exactly.
I did
Exactly.
all of that so you didn't have to.
But no, that's what literally births all of this, because
Yes.
my podcast wouldn't have started without that journey that I went on
Mm-hmm.
where the business fails.
Mm-hmm.
My systems business wouldn't have come out, because I mean, once it failed, I was like, okay, systems, like
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what I didn't know.
Yep.
How do I learn those things and pass those things on to other entrepreneurs?
Yeah.
How can I teach them through maybe a podcast, invite the right people on, speak to
Mm-hmm.
them, talk about their journey so that they don't have to go through those things, those challenges, the burnout, you know what I mean? Like
Yep.
the other version of myself that's listening to this show,
Yes.
right? And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what we're here for. It's that greater
Mm-hmm.
purpose to not just serve going forward, but serve looking back at who you were and who you would have liked to hear and
Mm-hmm.
how you could have helped yourself, you know, pull yourself along. Like, hey, here's some advice.
Yes. Oh, yes. That resonates with me so much. Yes.
If you were giving her some advice right now, looking back, what would that be today?
Honestly, it would be take a break and take care of yourself.
Hmm.
Right?
Hmm.
Right? And so take a pause, take a beat. It again, I felt like I couldn't. But that also was just kind of long standing, kind of been my MO for many, many years. So like that previous version of myself was, and I mean, I still am a doer, but I'm a doer with boundaries and balance,
Right,
right? So
right.
that was not the previous version of me. Um, and so I would just tell her to, it's okay to, take a break and to really, and put myself first. And I think that was hard, especially during that time when I transitioned into motherhood. That was like another layer that that's when I completely lost myself. And I think that's what I would tell her. Put
Mhm.
yourself first. It's okay to
It's
put
so
yourself first.
true. It's
Mm-hmm.
so true, though. When you go through that and you've gone from being single minded, then where
Mm-hmm.
you're only thinking about you and you're only taking care of you, and then you transition into taking care of another human, another life, you then lose yourself in taking care of that thing. And then you develop that identity.
Yes.
Like, I'm a doer and it's okay to just do, 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 do. And then
Mm-hmm.
you never come out of that. You take that into other parts of your life. Like, yeah, yeah, that,
Absolutely. And I definitely think through this process, this journey too, I coined it my identity. I had an identity crisis at one point, but I think you have to, because
yeah,
again, that's how you shift from that
yeah.
previous version to the new one. And I had a complete identity crisis. I was like, I don't even know who I am. I don't even know what I like to do. Someone asked me, what's my hobbies? What are those?
Time for a hobby? Who has time for a hobby?
Exactly. I was like, what? I don't know what I like to do. I hang out with my kids.
Yeah.
What? That's not a hobby. No, it's not. What? I couldn't even answer that question. Like, well, what do you like to do? I don't know.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, no, you're so right. You are absolutely right. And there's so many people that find themselves in that hole, and then they're like, wait, hold up. The kids leave, they go off to school or whatever it is, and
Oh,
you're sitting down there like, huh, about 10 hours for the day just freed up. What happened?
yes. It's quiet.
It's
There's
quiet.
no one here. Yeah.
Oh, oh, the many hats and roles that we wear. Oh my goodness.
Hmm.
Oh my goodness. But you know what? It makes life so colorful. And I
Yeah.
think as long as we take what we're learning and implement it in the version of ourselves that we want to become, I think it's all worth it.
Absolutely. I
You know,
agree.
Natasha, thank you so much. How can our audience and listeners find you?
Well, they can find me.
Mhm.
I'm on, Instagram, YouTube, all the things at Natasha Agha Consulting. My website's natashaagaconsulting.co. And then I also have my Fear Chronicles podcast, which is false evidence appearing real, which is a lot of what we've been talking about. So I love it.
Awesome. Awesome. Natasha, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. I just loved being here and talking with you. It's been great.
Oh, likewise.